This is Vex class, and this is a destroying Grandmaster champions. And if you basically want to become a Vex yourself, this is the build for you. Vex class has always been one of the coolest weapons in the entire game, and pretty much with every patch, Bungie seems to keep buffing it. Even with our next major patch, it's going to be receiving another buff to its damage fall-off scalar. But if we take a look at the launch this season, Vex class received a 10% damage buff to red bar enemies, a 25% damage buff to bosses, and when it is in its linear fusion mode, it received a 200% damage increase to champions. Yes, you did hear that correctly. With all those buffs and more to come, this weapon can put in a ton of work, and you can use it as your main weapon, especially if you do pair it with this build. Alright, to begin with, I think we should take a look at Vex class so we can further understand how this is going to work. It has the exotic perk Temporal Unlimiter. Defeating targets builds stacks of overcharge. Hold your reload button to swap firing modes when fully overcharged. In alternate firing mode, hold the trigger to charge up and fire a more powerful linear fusion shot. So now every time you get a kill on Vex class, you will be granted a stack, and at 6 stacks, you can consume all these to get 3 linear fusion shots. These linear fusion shots are very strong. You have to remember this is coming from a primary weapon with unlimited ammo, and with its buff to do 200% more damage to champions, you can absolutely obliterate every single champion in any GM. Pretty much every single time you're going to either 2 or 3 shot a champion, depending on if there's things like debuffs applied to them or buffs applied to you. But since 3 is normally the max, and this weapon has 3 shots once you load it up, that means you're going to always be able to kill a champion with primary ammo, and again, you can have this up pretty much all the time. Now, to get those stacks, Vex also is doing that 10% increased damage to red bars, and since it is an exotic primary, it does 40% more damage inherently, so you can absolutely slay out for ad clear, especially once you start adding buffs to your character. One of those buffs can actually come from the catalyst, which says while in full auto mode, final blows to this weapon grant bonus damage, accuracy, and stability for a short duration. So now every single time you get a kill, the gun's going to be a lot easier to use, and you're also getting that damage buff, which just means it's going to be even easier to kill enemies to get those stacks to turn it into a linear fusion rifle. Now, another way we're going to be able to buff our Vex is with our exotic armor Mantle of Battle Harmonies. This has the exotic perk Absorption Cells. Takedowns with weapons that have a damage type matching your subclass element grant you super energy. While your super energy is full, you instead gain a temporary bonus to weapon damage of the type matching your subclass element. So since Vex is solar and we're going to be running a solar subclass, now every kill we get will grant us extra super energy, which is nice. But the main part is that if you have your super up and get a kill, you're going to get another damage bonus. This is going to be a ×4 solar surge, which is 25% increased damage, and you can keep proccing this on every single kill. This will stack with the damage buff that Vex also provides with its catalyst, and you can absolutely just tear through enemies for ad clear, which again will provide you with those stacks so you can turn it into the linear fusion mode to instant kill champions. Since we are going to be running Well of Radiance with this, we're only ever going to use it in a defensive situation or on a boss, so you can pretty much always have this damage buff up at all times. And then once you pop your Well, you're also going to get another damage buff, so you can just keep constantly buffing Vex at all times. Now, some other ways we're going to be able to buff our Vex is with our artifact. With things like Flint Striker, if you get rapid solar precision hits or kills, you're actually going to be able to grant yourself Radiant. That Radiant will stack with everything else that we've already been going over, so again, more damage just to insta kill those champions even more. And you can also take things like Kindling Triggers, so when you're Radiant, all your solar weapons will apply Scorch to enemies. This will further help out with our subclass once we jump into that, but getting the extra Scorch damage is also very nice. And then you also have things like Raise of Precision, so when you get precision kills while you are Radiant, you can cause a ignition. This will further help out increasing the ad clear capability of Vex. You're going to be able to slay out with all the damage. If you get a precision kill, you're now also going to cause ignitions for ad clear, so it does crazy good ad clear and crazy good single target damage, especially to those champions. And then finally, you also have things like Revitalizing Blast, so your solar abilities can apply debuffs to enemies, which again will increase damage for everyone, but that technically counts as increased damage for Vex as well, but that will also further play into our subclass since it is based on doing damage with our abilities. Now for our subclass, this is going to be about getting our abilities back as much as possible. Starting off with our abilities, I do like to take a Healing Grenade. This is going to be very strong for the survivability. We can pair this with things like Touch of Flame, so this will actually apply a ×2 restoration to us now and an even better cure. So if you're ever in a sticky situation, you can throw this on the ground. You can also throw it on teammates as well, and you are pretty much unkillable if you are managing the cooldown correctly. Now I also like to take Incinerator Snap. You can take Celestial Fire to pair with Revitalizing Blast a little bit better. Celestial Fire will reach out a little further so you can apply debuff, but if you want a more damage based melee, Incinerator Snap is better because you can basically snap the ground to cause an ignition, and this still does apply the debuff very very well. You just can't get as long of a range with Celestial Fire. So if you want to take this, you can definitely swap these out for whatever you want. It's just your preference. And then for my class ability, I like to run Phoenix style because it does have the quickest cooldown. You will get Cure on the way down, and it's also a pretty good movement tool as well. And then if you pair that with Icarus Dash, you have another movement tool so you can dodge around, and if you get killed while in the air, you will actually apply Cure to yourself as well. So from the Cure from both of these, and also the fact that you are just very mobile, it makes you extremely hard to kill. And we've already went over taking Well of Radiance, especially pairing that with Mantle of Battle Harmony. But for our fragments, we're going to be running Ember of Singeing, so your class ability recharges faster when you scorch targets. If you remember, we are going to be taking the artifact perk, so our Radiant, we can apply Scorch to enemies with our solar weapons. This will proc this fragment, and you can have this fragment up pretty much 100% of the time because you're always going to be shooting enemies. This gives you an insane amount of class ability cooldown rate, and then pairing that with Phoenix style with its already low cooldown rate, you can spam it pretty much 24/7, so you can pretty much become unkillable. Now for our next fragment, it is going to be Ember of Appearance. A solo weapon or ability final blows extend the duration of restoration and radiant effects applied to you. Like we already talked about, we will be getting radiant from our artifact, and we can also get ×2 restoration from our healing grenade. This just means now you're going to be able to permanently keep that radiant and restoration up at all times. That's not only very good for your survivability, but it also means now you'll have that third damage buff up at all times. So with Mantle of Battle Harmony, Vex Catalyst, and Radiant, you would just have permanent damage increases from everywhere in your kit. Now our next fragment is going to be Ember of Ashes, so you apply more Scorch attacks to targets. Now this is pretty self-explanatory. Everything that's applying Scorch will just do more. It makes it easier to get ignites with things like Incinerator Snap. If you have more Scorch on an enemy, it will also do a little bit more damage. So this kind of technically is making Vex do a little bit more damage. But in the grand scheme of things, it's not doing too much with this build. And if you want to take any other fragment, you absolutely can. But even then, a lot of the other fragments don't really matter too much with this build either. So that's why I often just take Ember of Ashes. But if you want something like Ember of Char, that can also work very, very well. Now, our final fragment is Ember of Searing. So defeating scorched targets grants melee energy and creates a fire sprite. This is very good because, again, Vex is going to be able to scorch targets because you will always be radiant. This just means now you're going to be granting melee energy alongside that class ability energy. And what's really cool is that when you pick a fire sprite up, you'll be granted grenade energy. So just getting kills with your Vex and picking up fire sprites, you're going to be refunding every single one of your abilities, and you're going to be able to spam these at all times. But now jumping over into stats, like always, go with 100 resilience to get that 30% damage reduction. The next stat I will opt into is 100 discipline, so you can throw your healing grenade a lot more. And then if you can get to 100 recovery, that's what I would absolutely do, because again, you can spam your Phoenix Dive a lot more. Between these two, if you are managing your cooldowns, you're pretty much unkillable. But now let's take a look at our armor mods. If you'd like to see an in-depth breakdown of this build, be sure to head over to Mobalytics. I will link everything down below, and you can read over everything over there while I go over it in the video. But all right, start off with our helmet. First off, I like to take a harmonic siphon, so when I get rapid solar weapon final blows, I'll make an orb of power. So now my Vex can also make orbs alongside also making fire sprites, and these orbs will play a massive part into some mods later down the line. Now heavy ammo finder, so I get increased heavy ammo drops on kills. This does benefit if I am running a primary exotic, so it will proc a lot more, so just more heavy is always nice. Now I also like to take a dynamo, so whenever I use my class ability, I will get some super cooldown. Since the whole point of Mantle of Battle Harmony is to try to get your super as fast as possible so you can get that damage buff, this is just nice to have since you can also spam your Phoenix Dive over and over again with our fragments we just went over. Now for my arms, I do like to take a harmonic loader so I can increase my reload speed of solar weapons. This is just nice to have so I can reload the Vex a little bit more. Now next I have fastball because I have 1 energy left over. You can take pretty much anything else you would like to here, but fastball is nice if you do want to throw a healing grenade on a teammate that's about to die. And then I also like to take a grenade kickstart, so whenever I use my grenade, I get grenade energy back. And this is based on armor chart, so the more armor charts I have, the more grenade energy I get back, which just means I can spam my grenade more. Now for your chest piece, always go through resistance mods. Just be sure to swap these out for whatever content you're going into, just so you can survive a lot longer. Now for our boots, I do like to take a recuperation, a innervation, and an absolution. All these are going to be based on picking up orbs, and again with harmonic siphon we'll be making orbs. So now when we pick those orbs up, we get health, we get grenade energy, and we get energy for all our abilities. So just like picking up a fire sprite, orbs will now also grant grenade energy. We also get health now, which is very, very strong. And then again, energy for everything is already good because we're already getting energy for everything with our fragments, so we can spam our abilities more. Now for our class item, I do like to take a bomber, so when I use my class ability, I get grenade cooldown back. Again, going to be able to spam our class ability, so even more grenade cooldown. Powerful attraction, so when we use our class ability, we can actually pick up orbs around us, since we're going to be making orbs all the time, and we can use our class ability all the time. This is nice just to pick up those orbs a whole lot easier. And then finally Reaper, so whenever we use our class ability and get a kill, we can now make an orb after that. So again, we can spam our class ability, so now even more orbs. And then if you were curious, the reason we don't take things like surge mods with this is is because Mantle of Battle Harmony, it will not actually stack, and with Mantle of Battle Harmony's buff, it actually provides more damage than ×3 Surge mod, since it technically is providing ×4. So that can allow you to opt in to take things like these orb based mods and still get a ton of damage while also providing a ton of cooldown. And then for a final note, if you were wondering, because most of the time if you are running Vex Smith the class, you are typically going to be running Rain of Fire, but you don't have to run Rain of Fire, because typically when you get a kill with a fusion with Rain of Fire, you'll become Radiant. You're already going to become Radiant with things like Flint Striker, so this will allow you to opt in to take other exotics, and that's why taking something like Mantle of Battle Harmony to give you that increased damage is very, very nice. And you can basically take that Rain of Fire build that we all know and love and make it even stronger, because you don't have to run them, and you can run other stuff to give more damage buffs and more benefits. And then, like I do at the end of all these videos, if you were curious about my Transmog, this is what I'm running. Obviously, I tried to go for a very Vex themed look, but instead of going red, I went for blue, and I'm even taking advantage of some of the new Mass Effect ornaments, and I think it looks pretty sick paired with all the blue lights on Mantle of Battle Harmony. So if you want to make your Warlock look like this, definitely be sure to copy it down. But alright, that is going to do it all for me. Let me know what you all think about this build in the comments below. This is going to be my final season 23 build. Every build going on here for will just be basically recap builds or just fun builds I want to put together that doesn't involve the artifact. At this point, pretty much everything is obviously solved in the seasons. Just going over these OP artifact perks just really isn't doing it anymore, because everybody kind of already knows what to do. But I knew I had to make this Vex build. This is what I was really looking forward to. So I wanted to make this as the final send-off to the season 23 artifact perks, and I think you all will have a blast with it. Now, if something miraculously does come up, or I find something that is involved with these artifact perks, which I don't think could happen, I will make a video on it. But again, from here on out, expect more entertaining videos, tier lists, recap builds, and just stuff to get prepared for Lightfall, because we do have a long way to go. Anyways, I wish you all the best of luck on putting this build together for yourself. Thank you all so much for watching, and have a great day. Peace.